Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Duke. I'm a staff attorney and Equal Justice Works Disaster Resilience Fellow at Disability Rights Texas. And today is part of our first ever Disaster Resilience Awareness Month, where we're bringing you a variety of trainings and sessions on disaster-related issues. So today's is about consumer issues and disasters. And our Q&A would not be possible without the work and collaboration from Consumer Action. Through education and advocacy, Consumer Action fights for strong consumer rights and policies that promote fairness and financial prosperity or stability for underrepresented communities. The information I will be sharing today is very topical and broad, but we will have a supplemental presentation that goes into more depth provided by my colleague, Linda Williams, the Community Outreach and Training Manager at Consumer Action. So we're just going to kind of have a couple questions that I'll answer very broadly, like I said, but when a disaster strikes, there bad actors exist. So people are going to come in to further enrich themselves and take advantage of the situation. So these con artists, scammers, thieves are looking for money-making opportunities at your expense. So the first question is, what are they stealing? These bad actors are looking for your personal identifying information, PII. So how do they steal it? Well, there's generally three broad ways. Physically, in the event that you have to evacuate and are displaced, your residence is left unattended. So after a disaster, there may be documents mailing around with your name or information on it. So they can physically get that information if they're in there sifting through, disaster-related debris or garbage or even looting in some places. The second way is misrepresentation. Some individuals will say that they represent, a disaster relief service or the IRS or even an insurance inspector, housing inspector that's coming out, when they in fact actually don't, but then you assume and you give them information without knowing. And then the third way is one of the most common methods in receiving emails, and it's called, phishing, is a technique where it seems like it's being generated from a legitimate source, but it's asking you for information through an email communication. So those are three ways to know how they steal it. Now, what do they do with this information once they have it? Basically, it's identity theft. They are taking your good name to use for their own enrichment. Mortgage scams can happen from it, and then disaster relief scams can happen where they actually use your name to get the disaster relief services you would be entitled to. Or even contractor scams where, everybody's trying to get recovery done and you find a contractor. Of course, it's always going to be scarce resources, but they may do part of the work with the, upfront payment, and then they disappear. So those are things you need to be leery about. So let's talk about identity theft. What is identity theft? It's when they get a hold of your PII. So when they get your name, date of birth, mother's maiden name, social security number, account numbers, banking information, or even medical information. And then they use this information, like I said, to enrich themselves, to make money in some way, shape, or form that is not theirs to begin with. So how do you prevent it? How do you prepare before disaster strikes? You reduce your risk beforehand. You protect your online information. And I'll admit it too, I have a lot of the same passwords for my account. So be sure you have strong passwords and know where that information is. Sign up for alerts from your financial institutions or credit card accounts when they, ding you or text you saying it, unauthorized activity or strange activity. Monitor your financial statements, your banking statements, your credit card, and especially if you have reoccurring automatic, be sure to look at that stuff and see what's coming out of your account on a regular basis. And protect your medical identity. So anytime your medical insurance card, carry it like a credit card in your wallet, don't leave it around. But if you have medical documents or prescription bottles that are no longer needed, shred them. So that way you don't have that information laying around. If in the event your ID, medical ID is stolen, contact your insurance, Medicare, and Medicaid providers right away to let them know. Protect your mobile devices. Always know where it is because we all now, our whole life is in those things. And then continually check your credit reports along with your financial, banking institutions too. And if you're looking for contractors, have a plan. I mean, if you live in a flood zone or hurricane zone and the potential of having damage exists, check out some, plumbers or contractors in the area that are rated by Better Business Bureau, or get referrals from friends ahead of time. So that way, you know how to contact them and have a legitimate source of recovery to go to. So how can you continue to prevent identity theft after a disaster? Always document the damage. Call your insurance companies right away if you have, photograph everything that has to do with the disaster and damage. Keep your receipts and as much documentation as you can. Secure your PII and any other important documents, especially if you have to evacuate. So make the plan beforehand. If that information is not stored digitally somewhere beforehand, upload it. So that way you have it there, because you're going to need that information if you're displaced for an amount of time and are trying to access services. Your lease agreement, mortgage papers, insurance papers, put that all somewhere where you can access it digitally in the event you can't get back home. But if you have to evacuate, make sure you know where that important paperwork is so you can secure it or take it with you. And in the event there is a nationally declared disaster and FEMA comes in, register for FEMA. You don't always have to take their assistance, but it is a process and you need to get signed up for it as soon as you can. So what documents should be secured in case you need to evacuate or take it? So I mentioned financial records, lease agreements, mortgage papers, insurance, your government ID, whether it's a driver's license, passport, residence card, any medical insurance cards, or prescriptions. So that way you have that information with you as well. So in preparation, also think about having insurance. Recovery takes years up to decades. So if you can afford to have insurance, renters, homeowners, make sure you take advantage of that as well. So what should you do if you do become a victim of identity theft? Well, let your financial institutions know right away. Banking, credit cards, they'll put a freeze on your account, and there are processes to negate charges that you didn't make. So you'll have to figure out along those. Also know how you're protected under credit and federal protections that way. If for some reason someone starts running up a lot of credit, and then don't be complacent. Continue to check those financial statements and where your information is being used. And know that just because if it happens once, you're not going to be immune from a second identity theft issue. You might become more susceptible again to those issues. So be proactive and plan and know how you can prevent, whether it's getting names of contractors beforehand, setting up your alerts for financial banking stuff, and also what your rights are if you do become a victim of identity theft, deceptive trade practices for consumers at the state level. Price gouging is always an issue, contract issues. So make sure you know of your legal aids in that area as well that can help with those processes. So like I said, this was just very topical and broad. We will have a link to Linda Williams with Consumer Action's full presentation about identity theft and scam issues and disasters. So please, when you have time, make sure you take a look at that so that way you can be more prepared in the time of a disaster. Thank you so much for joining me today. We appreciate it. Stay safe and be prepared.